Stone walls, wood floors, exposed beams, and you're looking at a house in rural France that costs less than most people's annual rent, 28,000 euros. I'll say that again, 28,000 euros. That's $32,000 for a detached house with a courtyard and a garage. I went through hundreds of listings to find properties you could actually move into, or at least get there without bankrupting yourself first. No ruins dressed up as opportunities. No great potential disasters. What I found was something stranger than I expected. One of these 7 properties has a detail in the listing that changes how you think about what affordable actually means in France. It's not the cheapest one. I'll tell you which one it is at the end. Right now, let's start at the bottom of the price ladder and see how far it goes. 28,000 euros. The property is in Loubille, in the Deux-Sèvres. That's the Nouvelle Aquitaine region. If you're orienting yourself on a map, this is quiet, working rural France, rolling farmland, modest stone villages, a landscape that hasn't been discovered by the holiday market, and mostly doesn't want to be. The architecture here is honest, breeze block and tile rather than the dressed limestone you'd find further south, but built to last and priced accordingly. It's a detached breeze block and tile construction, 89 square meters, and that's about 958 square feet, across 3 floors, sitting on a courtyard of 45 square meters, or roughly 484 square feet. From the outside, this is a solid village house. Not romantic in the way a stone farmhouse is romantic, but real, present. The kind of house that's been lived in and will be lived in again. The ground floor has a kitchen at 17.6 square meters, like about 189 square feet. Tiled floor, exposed beams. And I know kitchens matter, so let me be specific. The beams are structural and decorative at the same time, which means any renovation you do is working with something rather than against it. There's an 18 square meter living room, around 194 square feet, with wood flooring, a storeroom, and a downstairs toilet. First floor, a landing, 2 bedrooms, 15.6 and 16.2 square meters, roughly 168 and 174 square feet respectively, both with wood floors, and a tiled shower room with sink and toilet. Second floor, loft space. Now, the honest part, and I'm going to say it plainly because that's the whole point. This property needs work. According to the listing, that includes the roof, insulation, heating, rewiring, a new kitchen and bathroom, and general modernization. That is not a small list. If you're doing this on a tight budget, you need to cost every one of those items before you make an offer, not after. This is a project, not a move-in. Here's where it earns its place on this list. It's recorded for mains drainage, which removes one expensive unknown. There's a 44 square meter garage, around 474 square feet. There's an outbuilding. The taxe foncière is $570 a year. That's your annual property tax, and it's low. And there's the possibility, not included in the price, to buy an additional 442 square meters, just under 4,160 square feet, of garden opposite the house. At this price, that additional land is almost certainly negligible to add. You're buying a shell with good bones in a village with services connected and room to grow. Property 2 is not what you think it is. It is not even what I thought it was when I first found it. 45,000 euros. And I want to be straight with you. I debated whether to include this. It is not a traditional house. It is a mobile home, an IRM Aventura 2, 40 square meters, or about 430 square feet, on a 4-star campsite called Le Montouré in Fréjus. Fréjus sits on the Côte d'Azur in the Var department, wedged between Saint-Raphaël and the Esterel Massif, about 40 minutes east of Nice. It has a Roman amphitheater, a genuine old town, and the kind of coastline that costs serious money everywhere else along this stretch. This is not a budget corner of France, which is exactly why the next number matters. The campsite has a water complex, children's play areas, entertainment, a sports field, a restaurant, a snack bar, a mini market. The mobile home sleeps 6. There's a living room with a sofa bed, an open kitchen, 1 double bedroom, 1 twin bedroom, 2 shower rooms, 2 toilets, ample storage, and a terrace of 18 square meters and about 194 square feet, with a garden and a shed. I kept coming back to this one because of the question it answers. If you want a foothold on the Mediterranean coast, something furnished, usable immediately, in a managed environment, in a location where a studio flat costs 3 times this, then $45,000 for something that delivers that right now is a real proposition. It is a different kind of asset from a stone farmhouse in the Creuse, and I'm not pretending otherwise. But for holiday use, for a seasonal rental play, for a first step, it's worth taking seriously. The honest compromise, you don't own the land, you own the home on the pitch, and there are annual pitch fees to account for. According to the listing, this is at Camping Le Montouré, a named rated site, which at least tells you the environment is managed and established. Before you commit to anything like this, understand the pitch fee structure and what happens if the campsite changes ownership. That's the question to ask. Before you dismiss this one, think about what you'd actually do with a place in Fréjus for $45,000. Then come back to me. Here's what I want you to sit with for a moment. In the last two properties, we've already hit two completely different visions of what affordable France can mean. A breeze block, fixer-upper in a quiet village, and a furnished coastal asset on a 4-star site. That gap, that range, is exactly why this video exists. Keep going. Property 3 takes us to Quillan in the Aude, and this one is structurally different from the previous two. Quillan sits at the foot of the Pyrenees in the Haute Vallée de l'Aude, a river valley town that's been a gateway between the Atlantic and Mediterranean worlds for centuries. The architecture is Southern French, shuttered facades, market squares, a tiled roofline that catches the afternoon light. It has the bones of a working town rather than a tourist one, which is increasingly rare at any price. On paper, it's a townhouse at $75,000. In practice, it's two income streams in one purchase. On the ground floor, a studio apartment, 13.75 square meters, about 148 square feet. With a 5 square meter bathroom, roughly 54 square feet, its own separate entrance. Above it, a 1-bedroom apartment with an open-plan lounge kitchen diner of 22.5 square meters, around 242 square feet. A 16 square meter bedroom, 172 square feet, an ensuite bathroom, and an attic room at 975 square meters, or about 105 square feet. Two separate living units, one building, 75,000 euros. Quillan itself is a lively market town. That's not marketing language. The town genuinely has a working market, restaurants, shops, and a train station with connections to Carcassonne, Perpignan, and Toulouse. The surrounding Haute Vallée de l'Aude offers hiking, cycling, river access, and is under an hour and a half from Mediterranean beaches and Pyrenean ski slopes. The honest compromise, the ground floor studio is genuinely small, 13.75 square meters, 148 square feet, is compact living. That works as a short-term rental or an office, but it's tight as a permanent home. And the property is described as centrally located, which in a town this size means you're walkable to everything but won't have much private outdoor space. If you're thinking about this as an investment, the dual unit structure is the whole story. Live in one, rent the other. Rent both seasonally. Use one as a home office while guests fund the mortgage. The options expand the moment you stop thinking of it as a single house. Now, if you're considering somewhere in this part of France, in this band from the Aude South toward the Pyrenees, here's what daily life actually looks like. Quillan has a supermarket and all the basics. For anything more, a hospital with full services, a larger retail choice, you're looking at Carcassonne, roughly 45 minutes. That is not a deal breaker, but it is a real drive when you need it. Beaches, under 90 minutes to the Mediterranean. Ski slopes, similar. Internet in town, ADSL, is standard across much of this area. Fiber exists in parts of Quillan, but check the specific address before you commit, especially if remote work is part of the equation. The life here, Tuesday morning, coffee on the market square, mountains visible at the end of the street, that's what you're buying into. Now, take a step back for a second. Everything we've seen so far has been south and coastal adjacent. The next two properties are in central France, the Creuse and the Allier. Different France entirely, and the prices are about to make everything south of the Loire look expensive. Property 4, 83,000 euros, 20 minutes from La Souterraine in the Creuse. The Creuse is the kind of department that doesn't end up on travel posters. Deeply rural, sparsely populated, with a landscape of oak forests, streams, and granite farmhouses that the French themselves treat as the quiet interior. Property prices here are among the lowest in the country, and for buyers who actually want land and space rather than proximity to a beach. That's the whole point, and I'm going to lead with what the listing leads with: land. The plot is 793 square meters, just under 1,900 square feet, or nearly half an acre, with a well. There's a barn with an attached shed. There's the house itself, built on a basement with an entrance, kitchen, living room, 1 bedroom, and shower room with WC. Heating by heat pump. The basement is used as a garage and storage. There's an attic above. For $83,000, you have a functioning house, a barn with genuine conversion potential, a well, and nearly 2,000 square meters of land. According to the listing, this is described as a real estate complex, meaning the barn and the house are treated as a unit. The honest compromise, 1 bedroom, means this is either a pied-à-terre, a renovation starting point, or a project where the barn becomes the real prize. And 20 minutes from La Souterraine means you need your own transport. This is not a market town on foot situation. Check the internet situation before committing. The Creuse is Starlink territory in many rural spots. And if you think that's strong for $83,000, hold on. Here's the thing nobody puts in the listing description, and I see it come up again and again in properties at this end of the market. When a listing says works needed or shows an older rural property, the word you need to focus on is roof. In much of rural France, a roof inspection by an independent artisan, not the seller's preferred tradesperson, your own, runs somewhere in the $200 to $400 range for the assessment alone. A full re-roofing on a house this size can run anywhere from $15,000 to $40,000 depending on materials, access, and local labor rates. The mandatory diagnostic dossier the seller provides tells you very little about what's actually up there. The one actionable thing you can do before signing anything, ask for a devis from a local couvreur. It costs almost nothing and tells you whether that roof is a 5-year problem or a 5-month one. And this is exactly the kind of thing I want you to check before you fall in love with a house. That's why I created The Real Cost of Buying a Cheap House in Europe, a complete 180-page guide to help you understand what you're really paying before you make an offer. If you're serious about buying in Europe, this guide could save you thousands by helping you avoid the wrong property and the hidden costs most buyers miss. You can get it through the link in the description or just scan the QR code on screen. Don't buy the dream blind. Property 5 is in the same area, 10 minutes from La Souterraine, and it is the most direct contrast to Property 4 on this entire list, 99,000 euros. And I'm going to lead with the compromise, because that's what makes this honest. It's a 1-bedroom house. 1 bedroom, entrance hall, living room with fitted kitchen area, WC, laundry room on the ground floor, 1-bedroom landing, bathroom with WC upstairs, electric heating, and an open fireplace, adjoining enclosed land, and a small plot opposite. That is the whole property. It is not large, but here's what the listing also says: tastefully renovated. In this price range, in this region, that phrase genuinely means something, because it means you are not inheriting somebody else's renovation list. This is described as move-in ready, and at $99,000 in rural central France. That is unusual. You could drive there on a Friday, arrive in the afternoon, and sleep in it that night. No contractor calls, no emergency plumbers, no, "Oh, we didn't realize the rewiring hadn't been touched since 1975. For context, $99,000 in Paris buys you a parking space. I am not exaggerating. An actual parking space in the 15th. This is a renovated house with a fireplace and a garden. The fireplace alone probably cost more than that parking space. Property 6 is where this list shifts into something different. 109,000 euros. A house from around 1900 in Bourg-Saint-Georges. That's in the Creuse confluence area, on the border where the Creuse meets the Allier, roughly 20 minutes from Montluçon by car. This part of France sits where 2 regions quietly overlap: the austere granite country of the Creuse to the west and the softer, more agricultural Allier to the east. The architecture reflects it. Older houses here have real craft detail, the kind of cornicing and arched doorways that tell you someone took pride in what they were building. From the outside, traditional multi-pane cottage windows, arched doorways, cornicing and ceiling roses, a sunny veranda at the front. Perfect. And I'm quoting the listing here because it's exactly right. For a morning coffee, you walk through arched doors from the veranda into the main sitting room, which has an open fire. Through another arch, a separate writing area, then the kitchen, wood-paneled country style, painted fitted units. Off the kitchen, a downstairs shower room and toilet, a utility area, and access to the back garden. At the rear of the house, a large second sitting and dining space, almost 33 square meters, about 355 square feet, with bay windows looking over the garden, patio doors, and round feature windows. Upstairs, 2 bedrooms, 23 square meters, around 248 square feet for the main, and 12 square meters, roughly 129 square feet for the second, with a connecting dressing area and a bathroom. The garden is the thing. Established trees, hedging, flower beds, a sheltered private terrace with a wood store, a vegetable patch, a garden shed, and a well. Independent garage off the tiled driveway. It's not a museum, it's real life. Someone has a writing desk in that arched alcove. Someone tends that vegetable patch. The listing mentions red squirrels in the garden, and I'll be honest, that line did more to sell this property to me than any of the square footage. The honest compromise. Montluçon is 20 minutes, which is fine, but the village itself, Bourg-Saint-Georges, is 2 kilometers away and small. You need a car and you need to make peace with that. The nearest larger hospital services would be in Montluçon, and then there's the last one, which I almost didn't include because of what it reveals about this whole list. I'll be honest about something before we get there. The Creuse, the Allier, central rural France, this is not for everyone. Winters are genuine. Internet can be patchy. If you want neighbors within easy walking distance and a town square on your doorstep, some of these properties will feel isolated in January in a way they don't in photographs taken in June. That's not a reason not to buy, but it's a reason to visit before you commit in a season that isn't flattering. Property 7, 199,000 euros. A 1980s house in a wooded park setting in the Boulogne-sur-Gesse area of the Haute-Garonne. This is Gascony, rolling hills, a landscape that opens up toward the Pyrenees on clear days, a region that trades in foie gras and Armagnac rather than tourist brochures. The Haute-Garonne connects you to Toulouse, one of France's most livable cities, in roughly an hour, which changes the whole calculus of rural living here. 127 square meters, about 367 square feet, across 5 rooms, entrance hall, a living and dining room of 37 square meters, around 398 square feet, opening onto a veranda of 11 square meters, roughly 118 square feet, a fitted kitchen opening onto a terrace of approximately 30 square meters, or 323 square feet, a mezzanine at nearly 14 square meters, around 151 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 2 shower rooms, 3 toilets. The heating is a wood-burning stove. The property is on a quiet cul-de-sac in a natural, wooded setting. Now, here's the detail I planted in the hook, the detail that changes how you think about what affordable actually means in France. It's not the price, it's the listing itself. This is the only property in this entire video where the listing tells you explicitly in writing where everything is. Supermarket, 10 minutes. Hospital, 25 minutes. Primary school, 5 minutes. Cinema, 10 minutes. Bus, 10 minutes. Lake, 10 minutes. Golf, 25 minutes. Town center, 10 minutes. The vendor has disclosed in the listing the real shape of daily life from this address. That is not a standard practice. Most listings give you square footage and a vague description of a peaceful setting and leave you to discover for yourself that the nearest GP is 40 minutes away and the broadband is dial-up speed. At $199,000, this is the most expensive property on this list. It is also the one where you know the most before you visit, and that transparency, that specificity is worth money because the hidden cost in every other property on this list isn't in the renovations or the pitch fees or the taxe foncière. It's in the information you don't have yet. The honest compromise here. Wood-burning stove only means you're heating room by room, manually, which is fine in the right lifestyle, and genuinely cold work in January if it isn't. And at nearly double the price of properties 5 and 6, you're paying a meaningful premium for the location. Haute-Garonne, closer to Toulouse, a different market entirely from the cruise. So, 7 properties. Here's how I'd sort them if you want a renovation project and you have the budget and the appetite for it. Property 1, the 28K Loubille house. Go in clear-eyed, cost the roof and the rewiring first, and there's a genuine village home at the end of it. If you want a coastal foothold without a French mortgage, Property 2, the Fréjus mobile home. Understand the pitch fees. Understand what you own and treat it for what it is. If you want dual income from a single purchase, Property 3, Quillan, the market town, train station, 2 rentable units, under $80K. If you want land and a barn and the space to build something over time, Property 4, La Souterraine area. The barn is the real asset. If you want to move in immediately and start living, no contractor, no waiting, no list. Property 5, also near La Souterraine, 99K, 1 bedroom, done. If you want character, a garden, morning coffee on a veranda, and red squirrels, Property 6, Bourg Saint-Georges. That house has a personality. And if you want to buy with confidence, to know what you're walking into before you book a flight, Property 7, Boulogne-sur-Gesse, the most expensive and the most transparent. If I had to call a friend tonight about one of these, honestly over coffee, it's probably the 109K house in Bourg Saint-Georges. But the one I'd actually sleep on is the 199K one, because it's the only one that told me the truth up front. Tell me, are you team fixer-upper and make it yours? Or team move in and start living? Drop it in the comments. I read every one, and it genuinely helps me know which direction to take the next video. If you want more of this, we're going deeper into a region most people skip entirely next time, and the prices are going to be hard to believe. Worth sticking around for.